Welcome back to Kansas City, and it is my delight, as we do every year, to welcome the Commissioner of the National Football League, Roger Goodell, over here. Thank you always for making some time on a busy day.
My pleasure, Greeny. Great to be with you.
Well, and listen, if only you could plan it this way every single year. But the fact that we are basically sitting in the exact spot where 2 months ago they celebrated a Super Bowl championship, what does it mean to have this event in a city that is still giddy with celebration?
Well, we've never experienced it before, since we've been moving it on the road. And, the whole idea when we moved it on the road was to give this to the fans in each of the communities. So to give it to a group of fans that are still giddy, still enjoying, and still celebrating a Super Bowl victory, as they should, I think it's a great thing for us. And you're going to see a lot of the Lombardi Trophy tonight. You're going to see a lot of the Chiefs tonight, because this is Kansas City's draft in many ways. And not because they're Super Bowl winners, because they're hosts.
Of course. I remember sitting with you in Chicago before the first of these. Yeah. And I think none of us really knew what to expect. Would you have imagined then what this might have turned into a decade later?
Greeny, we all felt that it was really something that would be a great hit. But until Radio City said, well, we don't have a date until June, we really didn't make that step. And when we made that step, Chicago really took it, embraced it, and really made it something special. And that's right up to the leadership. The mayor was great, the Bears were great, and the fans were great. It's just evolved. Every year, the next city takes it, they try to put their signature on it, and they try to make it bigger, better, and more impactful, which is great. And we just see the fans' reaction to this, and I can't imagine having an off-season event that has this kind of magnitude and this kind of impact.
Well, there isn't anything like it in anywhere. And I know that next year is set for Detroit. Are there any ideas for the evolution of this going forward a decade plus? Is there more than this that we could see?
I don't know, but we're taking ideas, Greeny, if you got them. So, but the reality is we're always trying to innovate. We're always trying to look to see how we can build the next opportunity to engage our fans more deeply and give them more access. And, I can't think of a better way to do that.
All right, let's cover a couple of the news items if we can. What can you tell us about the status of the ownership change in Washington?
I think progress is being made. We're communicating with the team. They're working, obviously, on the transaction. That progress will hopefully lead to them being comfortable to announce some type of a transaction, probably by the middle or late May.
A complicated story. There were significant suspensions handed out for several players involved in gambling.
Right.
And in this new reality of legalized gambling, which is something that is new during your tenure and new for all of us as we're all adjusting to it, and the significance of the business relationships that are involved, how do you foresee continuing to walk that line and not sacrificing the integrity piece as this becomes an increasingly important part of business for all of us in and around sports?
Greeny, it's a really good question. This was not something we chose. In the context of this, the Supreme Court made a decision that they were going to allow legalized sports betting, and state by state, they're all evolving and trying to develop their own laws, and we have to operate in that. And so we're trying to work through that. But the number one thing we always do, Mike, is we're making sure that the integrity of the game is number one, and we communicate that. We train everyone. That's players, coaches, executives, owners, the league office, commissioner. All of us are operating under guidelines to make sure that we don't cross that line. And so we've really worked hard on that basis. I think we've made a lot of progress, but when we have violations, we're going to treat them seriously, because what you want are, make sure everyone understands that, and that we're making the stand behind integrity of the game, and that we're not slacking in any way in the enforcement of that.
We are reporting that you're close to working out an extension in your contract, which, when that does indeed happen, assuming that it does, you will become the second longest serving commissioner in the history of this league, behind only the legendary Pete Rozelle. Have you given any thought to how much longer you would like this to be your life?
Well, the good news is I love the job, and I love what I'm doing. We have talked about an extension, and we'll work towards that. And if that's possible, then great. If not, I've been really fortunate to be in this job. I've loved every day of it. I would love every day that I'm in it. But I don't really think about the tenure. I think about the progress and the important challenges we have ahead, and making sure that we keep this game in the position. And I've often said, I think the NFL is in a better position today than it's ever been. I think the future is really bright for our fans, for our clubs, and for the game.
I have one more thing. I'm not sure if you've heard this, but Aaron Rodgers is now on the Jets.
Breaking news, Mike Greenberg.
I don't know if word of that reached you. But it does bring up the interesting topic of star players changing teams, which is something that we've not traditionally associated with pro football. It's always been much more commonplace in basketball and baseball. Now it's becoming more of a reality here. There's got to be all sorts of research on this. What does your research tell you your fans feel about star players moving from team to team?
Well, you know, one of the balances when we brought free agency in the 90s was limited free agency. As you know, there are restricted free agents, there are unrestricted free agents, and it's something that I think has been done with a great deal of balance, because I don't think people want wholesale free agency. I know our clubs don't. I think our players love the opportunity to be able to look in other places, and they should be given that right within the structure that we set up with the CBA. But we don't see a negativity to that. Obviously, Jet fans are thrilled right now. The Green Bay fans seem to be making that transition. I think it's a good thing for the game, ultimately. I really do. I think the fans are re-energized, obviously, in New York, and I think we see that around the country. But thankfully, there's a great deal of stability in our league with player movement.
It actually is something that has worked out better in other sports than I expected. I thought it would be big trouble in the NBA, and it really has not been, and people do seem to like it here as well. Well, the fans are excited. It's obviously going to be a great night with about as much intrigue as we've seen in this in a long time. I know you're looking forward to all the hugs that you'll get up there.
I'm looking forward to the hugs and the booze. I'm good.
Great to see you. Thank you so much. Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.